Yeah, not really ideal for daily driving. Big body guy. Big body guy. So I talked about at the very beginning of the video how I was going to pull it out and make it perfectly straight, and nevertheless, you can see it's perfect.
Welcome to Takashi's 6th Craig.
Alright, a little delivery day. My box finally showed up, so we're gonna get this thing unloaded and get all the tools in it. Alright, so this should be fun. We got a whole bunch of tools back there. I got a whole bunch of tools in here that I gotta get in the box, so it should be a little bit of an organizing day, I guess. And I gotta get every tool out of there, and every tool that I made a huge mess of, and taking the motor apart on this thing. All this crap I need to somehow get back into my box. My box is finally down here, which is good because now our productivity can go way up. Because I know you guys that have an actual box probably know when you don't have your box, you feel pretty damn useless because you have none of your correct tools. Nothing's where it's supposed to be. You're looking for stuff the whole time. You go to put your hand on something, it's never there. So priority number one today is get all this stuff cleaned up, put back in there. I can use that as a table workbench kind of dealio, and then go get rid of this 4x8 sheet of plywood. But we're gonna be working on this thing today. So as you guys know, the front clip's just kind of off to the side right now. I want to pull the Fox out and go ahead and get the front clip taken apart. The one thing I wanted to do, the grill on my truck is fairly straight, but it has a bunch of imperfections that have always driven me crazy. And one of the things that now we're in a shop that I can finally do is actually take the time to do all the little details that make these things perfect. I don't have to worry about it sitting outside and getting rained on. So while we're waiting on parts for the engine on this thing, I thought I'd take some time to go ahead and get the grill on this thing straightened up, show you guys how to take some of the dents out of your grill, show you guys how to refinish a grill. So these actually have a coating on them. I'm gonna show you guys how to strip that coating, a few different ways to strip it, sand it, get that thing looking brand new so you don't have to go spend $500–600 on another grill. So I hope you guys go on to enjoy today's video. Drop a like on if you did. And with that being said, let's get into the grill. Alright, pulled the Fox out, letting it run for a little bit. It's been sitting for like 2.5 weeks or so. You can see I revved it and it shit all over the floor, so that's cool. This thing sounds good. It's warmed up now, so it doesn't chop as hard. Usually when it's cold and it's running really rich for some reason, when it's actually running right and it's cold, it chops so hard. I miss driving this car. I think if it wasn't gonna rain in like 2 hours, I would put this thing in the shop and take this thing home, but it's kind of one of the reasons you buy a daily is to actually drive the damn thing. But it's weird because I went from driving this car from 1.5 years to driving that, and that thing's like way more boring. This thing's so much more fun. And I'm like, damn, I want to drive my Fox, but it's been raining so often I can't. For those of you guys that aren't familiar with this car, it's got a pretty mild built 5 liter, it's got an F-cam in it. But my cold air goes into the fender, and I don't have fender wells. So the tire just sprays the air cleaner with water. You can probably see it in there, but yeah, not really ideal for daily driving.
Hey Craig, how's that heater working?
Damn it! I gotta make this shit nice and steamy. Oh look, it's on fire. Yeah. Big photography guy.
Big can't take it off the tripod guy.
I see that. It's like walking around, he's got this whole ass
the tripod on.
How you like holding?
Hi, welcome to Craig. Welcome.
I really run out of breath when I'm talking to the camera.
Hi, welcome to Craig's.
Craig 9.
Hi, welcome to Craig's. Welcome to Craig's 9's.
Welcome to 6'9" Craig, whatever.
Welcome to Takashi's 6th Craig.
Alright, next thing on the list, we're actually gonna pull this front clip apart. So I'm gonna figure out how I want to wiggle it out of its little like corner. You can kind of see it's kind of wedged in there. I don't really know how I'm gonna do this whole thing, but I figure now's probably a good time to go ahead and refinish everything anyways. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the core support and the inner fenders apart, pull the radiator out so I can repolish it, and then just pull the grill off in a separate piece, and then just kind of have each piece, and then I'll probably throw all the body panels up there. Because I'm realizing this space is definitely different than my outdoor space at home, where I can just move stuff to the side, whereas the storage up here is there. So I gotta be able to get whatever parts I'm storing up there. So if I tear this thing apart, I can just toss all the smaller pieces up there. It's not that hard, but this whole in one big piece just kind of ruins this whole area, so. Alright, so this is the front end off of this truck, and as you can see, it looks pretty good until you get up close to it. So the common problem with these grills is they This is an anodization coating. It's not just like bare aluminum or tin or whatever you want to call it. So you can see this thing gets really scratched up. It's almost like if you painted this thing or anodized it and you know, obviously you scratch it, you're gonna see it. So there's a lot of imperfections all around this thing. As you get closer, you can kind of see them. You don't really see them on camera until I get them, you know, really close. But pretty much all over this thing, there's a ton of little scratches that always drove me crazy, which is ironic. You're probably laughing at me because the whole thing's a patina truck. But you know, the accident pieces are what I've always wanted to pop. So I figured as a little experiment, I try to take most of the dents out of this thing. As you can see, there's a bunch of little dents, and I run across it. I'll repaint the raccoon eyes on this thing and the stripe. I have a better set of inserts, repaint those, polish everything out, put it all back together, see how it works. So it's going to be something fun. I know a lot of you guys have grills that are much worse than this one. You can use this as a little, I guess, guide to how you can repair your grill instead of having to spend $500, $600, $700 on a new one. So let's get into it. All right, so pulling these inserts off, if you've never done it before, is a little tricky. And it's on 71 only. So these have clips on them. This grill insert is super fragile. As you can see, someone's already broken. So what they do is usually you put them on from the bottom and then you snap them on. So to get them off, it's usually the reverse process. And they're definitely not the easiest thing to get off. I'll probably break it on camera. Oh, there we go. So I got that one off. So I pretty much put my hand in here and roll it back. Take that one off. So now the two sides are off. The center one's definitely the hardest. So that one I just pulled off from the bottom. So you can see the whole thing comes off in one piece. So you can see there's 3 clips. This one's busted, this one's busted, and that one's busted. So it was not really in the greatest of shape, and that's all epoxied right here. And if you've ever seen this truck in person, it's really ugly right there, but it's one of those things you wouldn't notice unless I pointed it out. So I'm gonna re-polish these, and I don't know if I'll polish them. I think I might give them a brushed finish this time around. So we'll get to have fun with that. But that's how you take those off. You don't break them. So be careful. You're probably gonna break them. All right, so now you guys can really see what I was talking about when I get up close to this kind of stuff. You can see like this thing's pretty heavily scorched. We'll throw some after shots once I finish this thing, but a lot of these little ripples, you know, you don't really see unless you get up close to it, but it's things like this that, you know, in my opinion, make or break a vehicle. So it just makes the quality go down tremendously when I see a bunch of trim on a truck that's just hammered. So, and this is a pretty decent example of a grill, but I know I have a decent experience with metalwork, so I want to try to get, you know, do my best work and try to make this look good again. So we're gonna go ahead and get this thing straight first, get all the dents out of it, and then we'll sand it from there. So I have a good set of dollies, hammer and dollies, and then I wish I had a sandbag for this side, but I have some dies that we'll use, and I'll show you how I'm gonna get in here and pull these dents out. So this is a set of body hammers. They come with a set of hammer and dollies and all sorts of different shapes and sizes, and I'm sure every one of you guys can probably find, you know, a relative or a family member that have one of these collecting dust in their garage. It's one of those tools that you usually buy, use once, and never use again. So if you're anything like me, you'll end up using these a bunch. So there's a bunch of different ways on how you can use these. There's a couple ways that, you know, are by the book per se, but there's really, in my opinion, not necessarily a rule book on how to use these things. You're just gonna wanna get everything that fits well into the cracks and crevices you need to pull out and start tapping away. So this is probably a $20 to $40 set. This is one that if you can't find one, you can go to either Harbor Freight or any sort of auto parts store and you'll find a set of these. And then you can see these are the contrary to that, which are probably, these retail for about $600, which I didn't pay, but you know, you can see the difference in the quality and the fit and finish of them, but you can see the hammer shapes are all different. So a lot of them are used for different things. I'm not going to cover a bunch of it today, but just the basis on what I'm going to use, we'll go over. So the first one I'm going to start off is this massive one right square in the center. This is the one that you can see in actual photos of my truck, and it bugged the crap out of me. So this one, I can tell the material is starting to split, so we're definitely going to have some damage here that we might have to take well back together, but that's not that big a deal. However, you can see there's a very small entryway on the back of this thing to get in. So this one's gonna be a little bit tricky. And that's where the more expensive hammers help, because you can see the shape of this thing that does not come in that kit. So this one will allow me to wrap around inside of here and tap this guy out while I have a die on the other side. So here's our very rough cut. So all I did was hammer this, flip this thing over, and you can see that's pretty much how good it comes out. So this is not crazy difficult to do. It's the very fine line and getting all the lights to reflect off of this thing straight is the difficult part. Not only that, getting a smooth finish after you beat the crap out of this thing. So I'm gonna go through this entire grill, find every little nook and cranny and ding and try to get them all as straight as I can. Switch around to different hammers, show you what the spoons do and some of the other things do. Try to give myself the most clean finish I can before I go back and sand it. Because once I go back, I'll be able to sand all these scratches out and try to get this out. I might have to go back and actually weld this back together. As you can see, it gouged it pretty good, but nevertheless, it'll look a hell of a lot better than it did. So I think this is gonna be one of the hardest things to finish. So you can see running the DA across this thing, I give it a pretty nice, consistent finish. But you can see right here, it gets pretty wavy, which if you run your hand across this, you can't really feel any bumps, but obviously you can see it, which is really what matters the most here. So I think what I'm gonna do is hammer and dolly this section flush, and then take the spoon. So if you guys notice the spoon, or spatula, whatever the hell you wanna call it, this guy, you put on top of the metal because you don't necessarily want to hit the metal directly. You'll put a bunch of hammer marks into it. So you'll put this on top and then hammer on top of this, which you probably saw in the time lapse of me doing a little bit. But I think I'm going to hammer this from the backside out, get all the high spots up, and then take the spoon and hit it back down, and that should give us a nice flat finish. And then I can go back, DA this whole thing, and get it finished. But it's getting late, so I'm going to fix this up in the morning. So I'll catch you guys back in the morning, and we'll get this thing wrapped up. Okay, so after a little bit of sanding on the top here, you can maybe see what I'm starting to go for. So this is finished off about, let's say, just under 600 grit. And this gives me like a nice brushed finish. So and I think I like that. So this is D8 over here. And then you can see it kind of transitions over to the brush. So you can see the low and high spots. This is really where it matters. So that's the reason that we're sanding this. Because a lot of you guys are probably familiar about the anodized coating. Why am I not stripping this first? I'm probably gonna come back tomorrow and bring some oven cleaner and some Saran Wrap and wrap the whole thing and let the acid burn it off and then wipe it all off and then sand it. But it doesn't really matter because I gotta sand down all the high and low spots anyways. You can see how wavy these things are from the stamp. Pretty much all the way down and it's gonna be like that. So it doesn't matter what I do. It's not gonna be perfect either way. But I really like this brush finish. I think going along with the patina look, it'll look really good. You can see this side's all DA'd. But wrapping around this thing, it just looks super cool. And this is only to like 500 grit, 400 or 500 grit. I'll go up a little bit more. I'll go all the way up to probably 1500 grit and leave it at that. Give us a nice brush finish all the way across this entire thing. So it's looking pretty good. All right guys, next morning we got you probably heard of this, oven cleaner and Saran Wrap, because this is how we're gonna take the anodization coating off of the grill. So I'm gonna go ahead and spray this all over the grill, all over the face of it, around it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the entire thing in Saran Wrap, let that sit for 10, 15, 20 minutes, keep checking on it, and then eventually we get to the point where you can just take a piece of Scotch-Brite, scuff the whole thing, and it'll take all the anodization right off. So that is something I would recommend doing before sanding it. I just kind of didn't have a choice and I just started sanding it anyways. You're gonna have to sand all the scratches out, so it doesn't really matter, but this just makes all the nook and crannies a little bit easier to get into, so I'm gonna go do that. Big body guy. Big body guy. Ah, there you go. Yeah, big YouTube guy. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and prep our inserts. This is another set I've had for a while. I like to stockpile these things because if you have a 71 or 72, you know how fragile these things are. So I'm just using Super Clean, just kind of go ahead and clean these up. And we'll let this sit for probably a minute or two. And then from there, I'll go ahead and get these things prepped up, etched up, and ready for paint. And I am gonna be painting this the same exact color black that we did the first time. I like it. I think it looks a little bit cooler. And it's my truck, so yeah. Alright, so I went ahead and I refinished these. They're all prepped and clean. And what I did, which is one of the benefits about this shop, is we actually do have a heater, and it's a pretty gnarly one at that. So I placed my can and the actual inserts on a shelf in front of the heater, so it got everything all hot, which was really nice. So now I'm able to go ahead and lay the paint on. I'm not worried about anything scattering, so it should actually lay pretty nice. So I go ahead and just 2X, just simple 2X, nothing too crazy. Just want to get some color on this thing. I'll just throw a couple light coats on it. And yeah, I can already tell this lays way better when you put heat. The only thing that sucks is it's kind of windy out, so that's going to put a damper on things. Alright, so if the 2X sucks, it started coming out like a Rhino liner, so I switched over to this. This is my go-to for everything, so don't use 2X if it's cold out. Use this because this is thinner. The other stuff's too thick, comes out like crap if it's cold out. So even with heater and all sorts of other stuff, I don't have a stove to make boiling water, but this stuff lays so much better. And yes, I spray with my thumb. You can call me stupid, I don't really care. It's comfortable for me. Also, the pin on this thing's stuck down, so it doesn't really work like this. So I gotta use my thumb. So call me stupid, I don't really care. Maybe I am. Alright, so I went ahead and took the oven cleaner wrap off. It's been there for about 3 hours. You should let it sit overnight. It'll do way more. But I do have a can of brake clean, and what I'm gonna do is just brake clean Scotch-Brite. And as you can see, when I rub this thing on it, the oven cleaner has already done enough work where when I do this, of course it already dried, you can see that is bare finished tin or aluminum or whatever the hell this thing's made out of. There is no coating there anymore. You can actually see the line for where there is a coating versus no coating. So you can basically run across the entire grill shell like this. And as you can see, if you wanted to get super lazy with it, you can do nothing more than wrap this thing very, very tightly overnight. An oven cleaner, come back with a Scotch-Brite, and you're done. But that's not good enough for me. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna do the whole thing. I still have a bunch of hammer and dolly work to do, as well as fit and finish work with this. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually get the rest of this all sanded out, brushed out, get myself a nice, consistent finish, and then we should be good. So our grill is pretty much stripped and sanded. There's a couple little dings and dents I still want to try to get out, but I think for now we're just going to finish the grill sanding part for this video so I can get this video finished. Take care a little bit more about that so you guys have something cool to watch. You can see that most of the finish, it looks pretty consistent all the way down. Raccoon eyes are not done. I still got to do those as well. As you can see, I took the stripe out. Kind of sanding these. I think I'm going to repaint these, so I'm not really too worried about that. I might vinyl wrap them this time around. Do vinyl wrap, vinyl wrap, vinyl wrap all the way around everything. And then I might vinyl wrap these as well, just so it looks a little bit better and it lasts a lot longer than spray paint will. Spray paint will rock chip like crazy, so thinking about that. But so now I'm to the point where I'm using an electric drill, because I got it for free and I have it. So thanks Cole for giving me this thing. And I have a Scotch-Brite wheel on it. So you can either use this, you can get one of these, run it through that, or you can do this for all the tight to reach spaces. I've just been kind of going like this and running it down the whole thing, getting a nice consistent finish. When I'm done with that on the whole grill, I'm gonna go ahead and go from probably 400 grit all the way up to 1500 grit across the entire grill. Find any nook and crannies that I missed, do those by hand, and then I'm basically just, wet sanding from 400 to 1500, see how it looks. 1500 looks good, I'll stop. If I want more, I'll go more. So if I wanted to polish this, I would go all the way up to 3000 and then polish it from there. But I don't wanna polish it. It's no reason to be shiny on this turd, are you kidding me? So I'm gonna go ahead and get sanding on this thing, and we'll see what it comes out like. Okay, so you can see that is after 600 grit. And that is the finish that you get. Looks pretty good. I could stop there if that was the finish that I was going for, which honestly on a patina truck might look better. But I'm gonna keep going because I can always very easily go back to 600 in one shot. So I'm gonna finish the whole grill in 600 and go up to 800, work my way up to 1500, and then I think 1500 is where I'm gonna end up stopping, which won't look too much different than that. That does look pretty damn good, like that. You can see I rounded the edges. Looks pretty good. Alright, as you can see, my most of the grill is on my hands, but this is the finished color, I guess, or finish you can see. So this is after 3000. You can see way different, like way different. There's still some minor scratches, and if I sit here for 3.5 hours on this one spot, they might mellow out, but overall I think that's pretty damn good. You can see it kind of looks almost like it's factory, just definitely duller, which is kind of what I want, but it's nice and flat, it's consistent. You know, I can see my reflection on it. If you went straight into polishing on this, it would come out like a mirror. Absolutely like a mirror. So this is straight off of 3000 grit. And I know earlier I was saying I was probably gonna stop at 15. 15 just has too many scratches. The problem with 15 is when you nick it with your fingernail or anything weird, it's gonna create problems. So eventually it'll just turn into looking like crap. So I recommend going all the way up to 1500, 2000, 2500, but you must finish with 3000 because this type of pad acts kind of like a sanding block, and it lays really consistently when I wrap around everything, and it gives you that nice finish. So this comes in like a detailing kit you can get at O'Reilly's. It starts at like 1000, 15 all the way up to 3000. I think they look like, of course I don't have the pack, but these are definitely the most important part, because if you finish with 3000, it'll give you that nice consistent finish. It'll look nice and dull, but it won't have any scratches all over the place. The scratches are the part where if you don't really know what you're doing in terms of brush finishes, it's gonna look terrible. Definitely go all the way up to 3000 if you don't want to. You can go straight from 15 to one pass to 25, hit it with 3000, it'll look perfect. So off of that, if I can get the whole grill to look like that, I think I'll be pretty damn happy. And then from there, to protect this thing, we'll probably throw a pretty gnarly clear coat on it, and we'll call it at that. So I'm gonna keep running through this whole thing, and I'll come back when it's done. All right guys, after 14 to 16 hours today working on this on and off, I think this is finally done. I think this whole project took me like 20 hours. Like, I'm not even kidding, it takes a long ass time to do this. Mostly because, you know, you have 6-7 hours of the oven cleaner actually sitting on the grill and baking it off. You have to wait for that whole process, and then actually going to hand sanding it, polishing, go all the way up to 3000, then find a bunch of swirls, go back down. I started in 80 grit in some spots to get out a lot of these pits and scratches and dings, because you gotta mind, this thing's 50 years old. It's got tons of scratches all over there, super deep. You know, a lot of these grills are crashed into things, drove into bushes and trees and other cars. So getting them straight is no easy task. You can see the one thing I want to highlight is this dent, which I talked about at the very beginning of the video, how I was going to pull it out and make it perfectly straight, and nevertheless, you can see it's perfect. I think I can TIG weld that back together and sand it smooth, but it's one of those things where I almost think it's kind of funny leaving it. But I might finish it later. You gotta find a spot when to stop on something like this, or I'll be here for another 15 to 18 hours. So I think with what we have, you know, it looks pretty damn good to come around. So I mocked up this headlight bucket so you guys can see kind of the difference of what we're working with here. So this was a before and after. So you can see there's our finish on the grill, and then the bucket is the before. So I'm not sure if it's, you know, something you would be interested in doing. You can kind of look at this and see if it's worth the work. You will put a minimum of 10 hours into doing something like this. There's a lot of guys that may be more skilled than I am at sanding aluminum, but I'll tell you right now, sanding aluminum is a hell of a lot harder than sanding body filler. I can get a car straight in half the time than I can get a grill straight, because you can't use filler on something like this, so it's even harder. The result speaks for itself. You can see the grill inserts are painted. These are the new ones. Came out pretty damn good. But I think I'm gonna spend a couple hours tomorrow morning getting these knocked out. I'll go ahead and I'll do the headlight buckets and the raccoon eyes. Like I said, I'll probably vinyl wrap the stripe back into it, but honestly, I might leave it with no stripe in the center. I do kind of like it without it, so I'll kind of play it by ear. I think I will do vinyl wrap on all the black accents in the grill, because if I wanted to remove them, I can. And like I said earlier, they won't rock chip that bad, but pretty damn happy with that. So yeah, again, you can see there's your before and after. I'm just trying to show how much different it looks. Camera makes them look kind of the same. They're really not at all actually. Yeah, like I said, not for everybody, but I think it's definitely worth the work. And if you wanted to, you could actually take right now, you can take a cut pad on a polisher, you could polish the crap out of this thing, and it'll come out like a mirror, especially at 3000 grit, which is what this is finished at. So you guys have it. I hope you guys did go on to enjoy this video. I hope you guys learned something. You can use this on any 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, till whatever grill, on any classic car or any old vehicle. It doesn't matter what it is. They all use the same coating. So hope you guys learned something. Like the video if you did enjoy it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video with the F100. Hopefully we can do some engines work. So see you guys then.